There's a kind of pain that doesn't scream. It tightens your chest while you're smiling. It follows you into the kitchen at 2 a.m. when no one else is awake. And suddenly you're leaning on the sink, trying not to fall apart. Because you're the strong one, the one everyone counts on, the one who says, "I'm fine," because you have no other option. But the truth? You're not fine. You're barely breathing. You carry it all. The bills, the pressure, the silence. You remember birthdays, refill prescriptions, listen to everyone's pain. But no one notices when yours leaks through your eyes at the red light. Sometimes you fantasize about disappearing. Not dramatically, just not being needed anymore. Not having to hold the sky with your bare hands. You crave a break from being reliable. You ache to fall apart in someone else's arms. But the truth is, you don't trust anyone to catch you. You've trained yourself to look okay. Your body knows how to suppress tears like it's muscle memory. You hold tension in your shoulders so long they forget how to drop. Your back hurts more from carrying emotions than groceries. You wake up tired, not from lack of sleep, but from the weight of pretending. Even in your dreams, you're trying to fix something. You don't remember the last time someone asked, "How are you really?" without rushing past your silence. Sometimes you wonder if you're disappearing inside your own life. People see your role, not your soul. They applaud your strength, but don't notice your exhaustion. They say, "I don't know how you do it," but never offer to carry even a piece. You cry in the shower because it's the only place you can fall apart and blame the water. You scroll social media like a ghost, present but never truly seen. Maybe no one's ever told you this, but even the strongest hearts break in quiet ways. And breaking doesn't mean failing. It means you've been carrying too much for too long. This isn't just emotional burnout. It's a soul-level fatigue that doesn't go away with sleep. It's the kind of trauma healing no one talks about, because you never gave yourself permission to not be okay. But what if being strong isn't about never falling apart? What if it's about finally letting go of what's killing you? And I know, it's terrifying to imagine dropping the mask. To say, "I need help," when you've always been the helper. To stop pretending. But you don't have to crash all at once. You can start with a breath, hand on your heart, just feeling the ache you've been numbing. This isn't weakness. This is the beginning of emotional recovery, even if it starts in tears. It's strange how good you've become at performing. You wake up, put on the clothes, the smile, the voice. You answer emails, show up to meetings, ask about other people's lives. And no one suspects that your heart feels like it's leaking through the cracks. You laugh when it's expected. You say it's all good, even when your chest is full of stones. But when the night comes, when the house is quiet and the lights are off, you collapse into the version of you that no one ever sees. You stare at the ceiling, eyes wide open, breath tight, mind racing. You replay conversations, imagine worst-case scenarios, whispering apologies in your head for things you didn't even do. You try to pray, to meditate, to breathe, but the thoughts don't stop. It's not just insomnia. It's soul noise. It's your nervous system begging for peace in a world that won't pause. The universe feels far away. Your inner child is curled up somewhere in your gut, shaking. And all you want is to feel safe just for one night. There's a moment, maybe around 3 a.m., when your body feels like it's floating but your chest is sinking. You wonder if anyone would even notice if you weren't here tomorrow. Not because you want to die, but because you're so tired of pretending to live. You hide your pain with makeup and coffee. You cover your sadness with busy. You answer, "How are you?" with hanging in there, while your soul silently pleads for someone to see through the act. No one told you that healing from trauma would feel so lonely. No one warned you that post-traumatic growth can feel like being reborn inside a cave. You're learning to breathe again, but the air still tastes like old fears. You scroll past happy couples and confident creators, wondering what it's like to exist without shame. You tuck your grief under your pillow. You swallow your story like it's too bitter to share. You sleep beside sadness and call it normal. You wonder, is this what spiritual transformation feels like? A slow unraveling no one applauds. A quiet testimony of someone still here, still trying, still healing. This is the sacred scar no one celebrates, the one you hide behind your eyes. But even now, even here, the universe hasn't abandoned you. You're not too much. You're just tired of hiding everything that makes you real. And maybe, just maybe, this isn't where your story ends. Maybe this is the night you stop performing. Maybe this is the hour where your breath gets deeper and your heart says, please just let me feel it. You don't need to hold it all right now. Not for anyone, not even for yourself. Just let yourself be as broken, as sacred, as enough. You learned early that asking for help came with a cost. Maybe they mocked you, or ignored you, or helped, but made you feel small for needing it. So you adapted. You became the one who doesn't ask, the one who figures it out. You carry the bags, the bills, the blame. You say, I've got it, even when your arms are shaking. You clean up your own mess, and sometimes other people's too, because somewhere deep inside, you believe that asking might break whatever thin safety you still have. It's not pride, it's fear. Fear that if you open up, they'll walk away. Fear that your pain is too much, that you're too much. So you swallow your needs, bite your tongue, and say you're okay, even when your soul feels like it's caving in. You say yes when you want to scream no. You lend energy you don't have, because silence feels safer than rejection, and rejection feels like being dropped by the universe itself. You try to be logical. You say it's not that bad. You minimize your pain, even to yourself. You compare your suffering to others and convince yourself you should be grateful. But your body knows the truth. It trembles when no one's looking. Your jaw locks. Your chest burns. Your shoulders carry what your mouth won't say. This is what emotional resilience looks like when it's pushed too far. When healing from trauma turns into a silent performance of survival. When every I'm fine is a lie whispered out of habit. You journal instead of calling. You cry in the bathroom with the fan on. You overfunction just to avoid sitting in your own need. You pour into others because being needed feels safer than being vulnerable. But who pours into you? Who sees you without the mask of usefulness? This is the spiritual fatigue that doesn't come from laziness, but from being a soul who's been emotionally starving. You want to be held, but don't know how to be found. So you isolate, not because you don't want connection, but because connection feels dangerous. You long for someone to say, you don't have to do this alone, but no one says it. And so you keep pushing, pretending, until your heart starts whispering at night. There has to be more than this, more than survival, more than being strong in silence. And maybe that whisper is sacred. Maybe it's not weakness, but wisdom. The beginning of rewriting your story, because no soul was meant to carry it all. Not even yours, especially not yours. The universe knows how heavy it's been, and it's already holding space for what you've never dared to share. There's a moment in grief that no one talks about, the one where you stop hoping to be fixed and start fearing you'll stay broken forever, not in pieces on the floor, but in quiet ways, like losing your laughter, like not recognizing yourself in photos, like feeling numb when you know you should feel joy. It's the ache of watching life go on while you still feel frozen. I remember someone once told me her story. Let's call her Mia. She was the strong one too, the one who handled everything. Until the miscarriage, until the silence after, until the day she stood in the shower and whispered, "I don't know who I am without this pain." She stopped going out. She couldn't look at babies. She lost her marriage, her job, her sense of God. But she didn't lose herself forever. Mia didn't heal quickly. It took months before she could eat a full meal. It took a year before she painted again. But she started writing letters to the child she never held. And one day, she opened a small community art group for grieving mothers. Now, her pain lives in her story, not in her body. Her sacred scar became a door, and through it, dozens of women found air again. That is a testimony of healing, not because the pain disappeared, but because she let it transform her path. She didn't go back to who she was. She became someone braver. She rewrote her story, not erasing the loss, but honoring it. And every time she paints now, she says, "This is for the girl I lost and the woman I became." So if you're afraid you'll never be whole again, I want you to know, wholeness doesn't mean going back to before. It means becoming real in ways you never were. It means finding beauty in your cracked places. It means accepting that your healing might look like something no one applauds, but still it's sacred. Still it's yours. And the universe is already walking with you, even if your legs are shaking. This isn't about pretending the pain made sense. It's about discovering that even without closure, you can still have completion. Even without justice, you can have peace. Even without answers, you can be held by something greater. And maybe, just maybe, your story is already helping someone else survive theirs. You just don't know it yet, because you're still living it. Healing doesn't always look like light pouring in. Sometimes it looks like sitting in the dark and not panicking this time. It looks like eating something, even if your stomach still knots. It looks like not texting your ex, just for tonight. No one claps for these victories. There's no audience when you choose not to numb. But the truth is, healing from trauma often happens in secret, because you stop trying to explain your pain to people who don't get it. And that takes emotional resilience most can't imagine. You've probably heard it, just move on, be grateful, at least it's not worse. But those words never helped you breathe. They just made you feel broken for still hurting. So you stopped sharing. You started saying, "I'm working on myself," when what you meant was, "I'm trying to survive another day without falling apart." Your inner child still hides behind your ribs, but some nights you place your hand on your chest and whisper, "You're safe here now." No one sees the work you do in silence, the spiritual transformation that unfolds without rituals or stages. You light a candle, not for aesthetics, but for presence. You cry during songs you used to ignore. You keep screenshots of words that made you feel less alone. You journal things you'll never post. You pray in a language that has no name, just longing. And slowly, something soft begins to grow inside the grief. Something like grace. There's a sacred kind of strength in rebuilding when no one's watching. Not out of pride, but because your soul is tired of explaining itself. You're learning to trust the process again. To believe that the universe isn't punishing you, it's guiding you. That your story is not a detour, but a doorway, a testimony of healing being written, even in moments that still sting. And the scars, they're not proof of failure. They're the map of how far you've come. Sometimes your victories are so quiet, even you forget to notice them. But look closer. You respond to triggers with a longer pause. You speak to yourself with a little more kindness. You stop blaming yourself for being too sensitive. You started honoring your nervous system instead of shaming it. That's not weakness. That's posttraumatic growth. That's turning pain into purpose, even when the world doesn't understand. That's becoming whole in your own time, in your own language. So keep going, even when it feels invisible, because not all light is loud. Some glows softly under your skin, waiting to bloom. And the ones who've walked through fire, they don't need validation. They carry sacred scars that speak without words. And someday, you'll look back and realize that silence was holy. There's a moment, not dramatic, not loud, where you stop trying so hard to feel different. And instead, you notice something. It's in the breath you didn't force, in the breeze that touched your skin just as you were about to cry again, in the way your heart keeps beating, even when your mind says it's done. You look around, the same room, same silence, but it feels like something's here with you. Not a person, not a promise, something softer, older, wiser. Call it universe, call it love, call it the everything. It doesn't need a name, just space. And somehow it's been there the whole time. Not judging you, not fixing you, just holding you. Like the stillness between thoughts, gentle and alive. You start to realize maybe you weren't abandoned. Maybe the silence was sacred ground. Maybe those nights you whispered, "I can't do this anymore," were met with a quiet, "Then let me help." Not because you prayed right, but because you were never meant to do this alone. This is not performance. This is presence. And presence is enough. Healing doesn't mean you're always okay. It means you stop pretending you're not hurting. It means your body can finally relax. Because it's no longer protecting a lie. You survived, and now you're starting to live. Not for them, not for applause, but because your soul remembers something real, something unbreakable, something Serena. You feel it most when you're not trying, when you make tea with shaky hands, when you sit outside and cry without shame, when you say, "I'm tired," and don't rush to explain. That's when the light creeps in, not to fix you, but to find you, to remind you that the universe doesn't need you perfect. It just needs you present and ready to rise again as you are. So maybe this is the miracle, not that the pain vanished, but that it shaped you into someone who sees differently now, someone who listens deeper, someone who feels the divine in quiet places. You've rewritten your story, not by escaping the pain, but by standing in it and letting it bloom. You are not broken. You are becoming. Affirmation to whisper before sleep. I am not alone. I am held. I am healing. And that is enough. If this touched your soul, stay with me a little longer. If this video felt like something you've always needed, but never heard before, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. You belong here. Shall we rest now?